Project 2025 has a very interesting view when it comes to Russia and China. And I know we've been going back and forth with Biden's for China and Trump's for Russia, but I want you to read in Project 2025 where the GOP, MAGA, conservative Republicans stand fully, where they've written down as a mandate on where they stand when it comes to China and Russia. The next president should use the State Department and its array of resources to reassess and lead this effort, just as it did during the Cold War. The U.S. government needs an Article X for China, and it should be a presidential mandate. Along with the National Security Council, the State Department should draft an Article X, which should be a deeply philosophical look at the China challenge. So what is Article X? Now here's an introduction about what Article X is. And while this source is taken from the Koch Foundation's Bill of Rights Institute, I don't support the Koch brothers at all. You gotta look them up. But this is a good brief synopsis of what Article X was. As the ashes of a devastated Europe were finally settling at the end of World War II, the ideological lines of the new conflict were being drawn. The Soviet Union and the United States had been able to set aside the differences to defeat fascism, but without a common enemy, they soon began to clash. Although some in the United States believed the West could cooperate with the Soviet Union, others argued that communism and capitalism were antitheses. George Kennan was a former service officer who studied Russia's history and policies. In 1947, he took a report he had developed in the Cold War for Secretary of State James Forrestal and published it in the Foreign Affairs under the pseudonym X. Now, George Kennan basically wrote the Cold War policy. That's what Article X was. It was the outline of containment for communism. And that became the Cold War. And the Cold War lasted for 44 years, from 1947 to the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991. And in that timeline, we had countless wars and countless lives lost trying to contain communism. Do you think it worked? Because now we're working with communist countries when it comes to our economics and buying fuel and a lot of other stuff. So do you think the Cold War worked? Before the policy of containment was solidified in 1947, there was another time in American history where we tried to contain something where it lasted and it didn't end well. That was American slavery. People tried to contain slavery where it existed and did not want it to spread to the territories. That led to a civil war, along with a lot of other stuff too. It wasn't just containment. It was a lot of other stuff. As far as the ins and outs of containment with communism and American slavery, I'm writing an article on it and it's about to be published, so it'll be out soon, so don't worry about it. So we know on two separate occasions when it came to American history, chattel slavery and communism, containment does not work. And Project 2025 wants to use a containment style policy when it comes to China. Let's look at what they say about Russia. They offer three solutions when it comes to Russia. Now you can pause to read. They feel that some people believe this. They also believe some people believe this. And they also believe some people believe this. But listen to what they say. Regardless of viewpoints, the next conservative president has a generational opportunity to bring resolution to the foreign policy tensions within the movement and chart a new path forward that recognizes communist China as the defining threat to U.S. interests in the 21st century. That was Russia's policy. Go back. That was Russia. You were talking about Russia. What are you going to do about Russia? What you said was we got to establish something. We got a unique opportunity. We have a generational opportunity to say something about Russia. And you went to say that China was the enemy? Huh. Oh my God. So now we know for a fact where the Conservative Party stand. They stand with Mother Russia. As far as I'm aware, Biden and his administration doesn't have a policy where they're going to side with one country over the other when it comes to both China and Russia. They're just trying to have an amicable or an agreeable policy with both countries to keep the peace and just make money. They're trying to establish China as a threat, even though our economies are intertwined. The reason why China didn't call in their loans, and by the way, China doesn't own as much debt as you think they do. One of the countries that own more of our debt is Japan, not China. But the reason why they didn't call in their loans during the 2009 economic downturn is because When our system crashed, their system crashed economically. I'm getting carried away. Basically what I'm saying is Project 2025 establishes Russia to be more friendly with the United States than China. And if they're not right now, their plan is to make that so. What do you think?